Shit.
Alright guys, today I'm going to show you how to fix your Joyetech eVic e-cigs. This will help if the device has become broken and the top piece falls off from the bottom piece and the wires get undone. So you'll need a soldering iron, some super glue, specifically the kind that can adhere metal to metal, some solder, look for the kind that says electrical, that's the kind you'll need specifically for this. You might need just a little bit of sandpaper. You can find all of these items at Home Depot or a similar store. Alright, so let's get started. Now if we take a look at the e-cig itself, so this one's disconnected completely from the rest of the battery, and you usually get this error message, no atomizer found. So what we're going to be fixing is connecting the wires back to this circuit board where they belong. So the red wire is our positive wire and the black wire is our negative wire. And if you look really closely, you may not be able to see it here, but this right side of the circuit board here has a positive sign, and over here on the left it has a negative sign. So we're just going to connect again the red to the positive and then the black to the negative using the solder. And once that connection is complete, then the device will find the atomizer and you can use your eVic once again. Okay, now it's going to be too difficult for me to explain and demonstrate at the same time, so what I'm going to do is explain all the steps, and then afterwards I'll show you the finished product of how my fixed device works when done. So the first thing you want to do is, just heat up your soldering iron. So for mine, I just turn it on, and when this light turns green, then it's hot enough. Just a word of caution, soldering irons get really hot. We're talking about temperatures in excess of 700 degrees. So, be careful, wear gloves if you have to, keep it, out of reach of anyone who could get hurt, including yourself, and just, use some extra caution when dealing with the item. So next we want to get the actual solder we're going to use. You can just use some scissors. I have some wire cutters here. You don't really need that much. I think most soldering pins come with a bit of solder, so you probably don't even have to buy it separately. Just make sure again that it's the electrical kind. So maybe actually cut a piece long enough to wrap around your finger a little bit just so you can hold it in place while you solder the wires. And what we're really going to be doing first is what they call tinning the wires. Basically, you don't want to just drop solder onto the wire and then onto the connecting piece. You want to make sure the solder gets on the wire evenly, and to do that you basically hold the hot soldering iron on the actual wire itself. And again, I probably can't demonstrate too much while filming, but what's going to really happen is I'm going to get the wire hot. And when the wire is hot, I'll press the solder onto the wire, and then that'll melt the solder onto the wire instead of just dripping it onto the wire. So again, heat up the wire with the solder and then touch the solder to the wire, not the soldering iron, to get it a good coat of solder on there. And real quick, I forgot to mention the sandpaper. If your wire has a lot of the rubber coating on top of it, you can sort of hold that to the soldering iron to sort of help melt it away. And then take the sandpaper and very gently you can rub away some of that rubber. That just exposes more wire for you to place the solder on. So that's what you might need some sandpaper for. If there's enough wire exposed, then you don't really have to worry about this step. Once you've tinned the wires, you'll just apply the soldering iron onto the wires while they're touching those metal discs up top here. This piece and this piece. You'll just press down on the wire, and the solder you placed on there earlier should melt again, and then it should attach itself to those two pieces. And once that's done, then your device is essentially fixed. You just have to screw it back on and glue it together, and it should be back good as new. So I'm going to do that really quick and then come back and then show you my fixed battery before gluing it all back together. So you can see I've attached the two wires onto those connecting pieces. Got a little out of hand, more globs of solder than I would have preferred. And you have to be careful because it's really small in there and my iron was a little big, so the sides got a little burnt. But, all in all, I think, it's worth it fixing it up. And, you glue it back on, it's not going to be too much damage there. So to demonstrate, I'm just going to attach a Yokan heating chamber onto it before I glue it up, and you can see my pin heats up and it's now reading the atomizer once again. So this is fixed. All it needs to do is get glued and your pin's back in good shape. So again, be careful when using the soldering iron. Make sure you have the right tools, that's including the electrical solder, sandpaper if you have to get the wire down. I'll eventually use this super glue, which again, specifically states that it's made for metals. I guess it doesn't say it here, but it was on the package when I bought it. And you should be good to go. So, hopefully this helps, and I'll see you guys next time.